So what you're often seeing is that people are calculating a lot with averages, average shipping cost, average picking cost, average this and average that. But your catalog isn't average. There's 500 products, 1,000 products, and they are not priced the same. They are not all the same. So you can actually only work with averages if all of your products are the exact same product, because then the average is spot on. But in all other cases, your average is never spot on. And I think automation and logic and data helps you be spot on without being average.
All right. Hi, everyone. We have Bart now in the podcast. Bart, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I mean, really happy to have you here. It's been a couple of weeks. We're scheduling that and really happy to have EffectConnect, because I think like also a very important player as a marketplace integrator. And also for me, it's one of the first time that I'm interviewing a CEO and a founder of a company. So definitely there's going to be some nice talk there. And so starting with that, maybe if you can give a little bit of background about who you are, and also like I see you have like super extensive experience in the industry. So if you can give like some background on that would be really good.
Yeah. So I founded this company 20 years ago in 2003, and I was a software developer. And I use the word was in past tense, because otherwise my team, who will definitely be viewing this interview, will say, no, Bart, you are not a developer. And, they are right. I was a developer. And I was building websites and web shops and everything. And we did that for a lot of local companies here in the south of the country, in the Netherlands, and built pretty much everything, right? So custom web shops were, because, Shopify didn't exist, or Magento wasn't what it used to be or what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So we built custom e-com platforms and actually worked our way through the entire e-com chain, right? So from web shop to logistics, we did some warehouse management software that we built, to ticketing, to eventually marketplaces. And the funny thing is that it took us quite some time, because we weren't focused on marketplaces, and marketplaces didn't exist in 2003 in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So we actually started in 2012 with the marketplaces, when bol.com opened their marketplace for third-party sellers. It was called the Plaza back then. And that's where they reached out to one of our customers who were selling decorative pillows for on your couch, right? Everyone has them. And we built them their e-com platform back then. And bol.com said, okay, we want to sell your products on this marketplace that we're opening. So 1 and 1 was 3 in the end. And we talked to bol.com and this client of ours, and we thought, okay, maybe we can build something that, integrates the systems. And we could, and we did. And they went live on bol.com, and within 45 minutes or so, they had their first order into the back office through our platform. And I now use the term platform, but, back then it definitely wasn't the platform, right? We could exchange data, but if anything wasn't what it expected, what we expected it to be, it would all fail. So built something that could talk sort of with these marketplaces, and thought, okay, this is interesting. It's more of a proof back then that maybe this is something that's worth investigating a bit more, than that it was the definitive product in the end. What we then did is, from 2012 up until 2014, or late 2014, is that we did a lot of discovery with bol.com to all kinds of sellers that they wanted to onboard, and did a lot of integrations. And we didn't really promote it back then. We didn't even have a customer service team. We were a bunch of developers. And in 2014, I got in touch with this guy, living close to us, who went to Amsterdam and was part of a company called SEO Shop, and it's now Lightspeed. they used to be SEO shop, and they had this app store in their web shop platform, and they wanted to include our offering, our integration offering. And actually, that was the moment that we had to make a SaaS product out of what we did, and had to figure out if this was a product that we could sell to many sellers, and hook them up to all these platforms. And this is what we did. And in 2015, we did the first event, the Webwinkel Vakdagen in Utrecht, which is the go-to exhibit when it comes to e-commerce. And after that, and in the 2-3 weeks after that, we gained a lot of customers, and I thought, I don't have customer service. I need to find someone who will do customer service. So I found this guy, and eventually it turned out great. The company developed in a way that, where we used to sell our time by the hour for custom projects, we're now completely focused on the product EffectConnect as an integration solution for e-commerce sellers.
And to me, it's super interesting to hear that, because also as a founder, like the search that actually to create this type of company that you have right now was progressive in a way, and it was basically made and tailored by your current clients, and was guided by your clients, where you saw basically a need in the market in order to create EffectConnect. And that's
and we had one big piece of luck, and that was the fact that we already had a company that was already doing revenue. We did projects and we generated revenue, and we could use that revenue to build EffectConnect. And that was great. It was super comfortable to take a bit longer maybe to develop a great solution. But, there wasn't a lot of pressure on in that time, because we had a business. And this was something new, and we could take our time to make something great out of it.
Yeah, because so EffectConnect is a solution that also I wanted really to interview during this podcast, because I've heard about you in about 2015 when I was working at Laudut, and it was probably going with what you mentioned on the fact when you expanded and you integrated that to multiple marketplaces over Europe, and then when you started probably also having this more of fashion segmentation in a way as the side of your of the generalist ball.com and those sort of integrations.
Yeah, so we are focused on a couple of product categories, and funny thing is, fashion isn't one of them. So ball.com is a generalist, right? And just like Amazon, basically, you can sell pretty much anything, so long as it isn't stolen, then you can sell it pretty much. And what we noticed is that we got a lot of interest from sellers who are in the home and living industry, or in the sports and recreation industry, consumer electronics, for example. So there's 3 or 4 maybe categories that are super strong, and we noticed that fashion is pretty tricky. And we saw that with Zalando and the high return rates that they were dealing with in those years. And I'm not sure what it is now, but back then it was 70% or something like that.
Wow.
And, as we're super focused on generating profit for the users that we have, for the brands that we support, all these extra layers of complexity and high levels of returns and everything related to that, we thought, this isn't helping profitability for these brands. So that's why we decided to focus on these 4 pillars, and work our way up from there.
Yeah, I think also we will mention probably later on the countries you're focusing in, but definitely those return rates in Germany are definitely high by just the customer's habit of basically ordering and just returning it, just trying it out. Basically, it's just this habit was, where I'm coming from in France or in Southern Europe, it's more about when you buy, you keep it. So the return rates are pretty low. The customers are actually pretty certain that they want the product at the time when they buy it, compared to more in Germany or in that area in general, where there's more return because it's actually the last decision to be made is more when you receive the product more than when you actually order it.
Yeah. And that is why I was in your rapid fire question about shipping costs or free shipping. This is exactly the reason why I would opt for paid shipping. People are spending crazy amounts of money and ordering a lot of products that they do not keep, which results in a lot of, traffic back and forth, someone delivering the package, someone picking up the package, and then continuing from there. And I think, and in the Netherlands, I believe Wacom did an experiment. It can seriously reduce the return rate if you just do not do free shipping.
Okay. Yeah, no, that explains it all. And when we talk then, because we've already a bit touched upon this topic, but when we talk about EffectConnect, what type of seller target are we talking about? So as you mentioned, probably like more consumer electronics, home and decor, living, so and external to fashion categories. But in terms of seller target, what size are those sellers in general? Are they like more SMBs or more enterprise level? Is there like all around?
Yeah.
What type of countries do they operate in general?
So we typically define them as nationals who are, selling or wanting to sell cross-border. So that means, for example, a Dutch company with an HQ in the Netherlands who is selling in here and maybe in Belgium, but is also looking at expanding into Europe. So that's the one target that we always say we must meet. So that means, for example, that our primary goal isn't these big international companies with offices in the US and in Europe on several locations or whatever. And these nationals, it is fine with us if they don't want to expand across the borders of their country, but mostly, they want to. And that's why we can help them into Europe. And then in terms of size or revenue, so ideally at least, $1 million or $2 million a year on a marketplace. So it's even a pretty low bar, but I think it defines the SMBs in the nationals category. So yeah, that's about it, I think. And then in the categories that I mentioned, right? Home and living, and then fast-moving consumer goods, consumer electronics, and sports and leisure.
Yeah, maybe a question for you would be also how, like in general, how many channels or marketplaces do those sellers join? Do you see maybe a trend of integrating like more and more marketplaces, or maybe trying to more select the marketplace that they try to sell in?
Yeah.
How do you see that moving over time?
Well, it has changed. So during COVID, everyone wanted to jump onto every marketplace across Europe. Get the most revenue they could make. And a lot of them also made great revenues. But, that has changed drastically. So what they now are looking at is sell on less channels, but be super profitable on these channels. And that is our focus too. So we are not aiming to be global, and we are not aiming to have customers who are on 50 channels or anything like that. We are aiming to help customers sell profitable in Europe. And that's it. Profitable in Europe on a select number of marketplaces.
Yeah, I think also like it's a main point that we have to consider when selling on marketplaces is that at first, brands, sellers, they are like, okay, we want to have like this cash grab. We want to go like all over the place, have like as many marketplaces as possible. But then in a way, for the seller in question, like it kind of reduces the need for their own website in a way, because we can find like their products absolutely everywhere. But also from a certain standpoint, from a marketplace operator perspective, having the exact same sellers as 20 of your competitors, whether they are close competitors or wide competitors, it's not even that interesting. So it's important maybe for sellers to have this strategy of basically being able to tailor a bit like the product offering that they have like per marketplace, and just say, okay, I'm focusing only on those categories. But it, as you mentioned, it's I think you touched upon this topic about like the optimization piece that might be like the most important at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think also from a marketplace perspective, and when you're looking at your seller base, comparing it to other marketplaces who are maybe quite similar in seller base, then in the end, it is all about experience for the consumer and how they operate on your marketplace and how they buy products on your marketplace. So if the offering in products is the same, then you have to make a difference somewhere else. And that can be in customer service, or maybe a great mobile app that is, working with my Face ID or thumbprint or super easy recommendations or whatever it is. You have to make some difference somewhere if you're selling the exact same products.
Yeah, exactly. And so selling like the same experience, the same service over like over multiple hundreds of marketplaces is not yet sustainable. It was something I discussed a few days ago with another person in the system, mentioning that actually it's when you create a marketplace in general, you have always like the same sellers that are lined up. You have like sellers that are selling 100,000 items over all the possible marketplaces in Europe. Like those sellers are well known, but it's good to start off your marketplace as an operator when you're like have zero sellers and you have like zero offers. So it makes sense to start with that. But then in the long run, I see more the market as being more segmented, and also like companies being able to make like wiser choice into whether or not they should integrate a marketplace.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and also that's a focus point on us, is that we give more insights to these sellers now than we did a couple of years ago. And also our business consultants that work with EffectConnect do these audits on someone's offering on a marketplace. And what you often see is that sellers who sell, multiple thousands of products, if you then do an audit on them, then, an ABC analysis or so on products that you are actually selling, then the share of products of this entire catalog of several thousands of products, the share that is actually generating the profit and revenue is super small. So there's a lot of products that are in catalogs that are pushed to marketplaces that are not even being sold. So as a seller, that is something to be, analyzing continuously to optimize the catalog per marketplace that you should sell. And definitely, if you're using logistics of a marketplace, you're paying for storage. And if you're paying for storage for products that don't sell or sell at a very low, rate, then it isn't really helping your bottom line.
Yeah, and in a way, it's less and less common now, but it was happening back in the day. So we're talking about 2016, 2017, to actually have, I don't know if there's a real expression for that, but sort of Amazon dropshipping. So basically being able to create on other marketplaces than Amazon the actual product of Amazon, selling them, putting up the margin, putting up the commission rates. So it will be not competitive for the product, but it's such a dodgy like strategy that used to work. And I knew sellers that were making like millions with that, because if you're integrating all the marketplaces selling like the Amazon products, ranking up the price by 20%, then you still make like a very small margin. But those things happen less and less. So I believe it's good, like in a way that operators are more rigorous now in choosing, selecting like the correct sellers, but also the correct products.
And if someone is still trying it, they cannot meet the KPIs that these platforms are demanding because of they're not entirely in control of the supply chain there. If that Amazon product is shipping slower than expected, then there's a problem. So it did happen. I did see it, and Bol.com had it too. And also in recent years with, drop shipping from Alibaba or other platforms, they completely banned all those sellers. It was super bad for customer experience. The reviews went down, Net Promoter Score went down. And once they fixed that, it all, found its way up again. So it's a short-term revenue generator for some sellers, but it's never a long-term sustainable business.
Exactly. It's great to have like 10,000 products on your website, but if it's 10,000 products that are not correctly priced, that have like a poor customer experience because the package are actually going to be branded another seller or are going to be branded Amazon, it makes no sense down the road. So it's just Yeah, it's just better. Like, I think like the overall industry is progressing like the right way in that. And as we mentioned, maybe the optimization piece. And I like this idea of saying like, well, let's just focus on what works and being able to optimize that. Maybe can you but tell us how does that work with EffectConnect? Like in some of you guys, like your services, how are you helping those sellers basically
Yeah.
optimize their listing, or what are the services that you can offer to sellers at the moment?
So actually, when we're talking to prospects, one of the first things that we do is make an analysis of what they're doing on these marketplaces and an estimate of what of that, if we can think we can do better in generating profit. And pretty much always we can say that we can get more profit out of that marketplace based on the same revenue. And that is because of we are super focused on the profit and loss of a company, and not just our own company, but also of the seller's company in the end. And what we mean by that is that, for example, when you're looking at pricing of products, we're not just saying, okay, this is your MSRP and maybe this is the markup or down on that figure, but we'll definitely dive into all of your cost components that are important to sell something at a profit. So think of your landed cost price, your taxes, your logistical cost, maybe some overhead, maybe some return cost component that you want to take into account. And all dependent on the type of product and where the product might lay and what warehouse it is and everything related to that. And what we then do is set up a lot of logic to determine the exact point at which a product should sell for at a minimum to generate a profit, even if you have a big catalog. And it is a super fast way to make sure that there are no bleeders in your inventory. Because mostly what people do is say, okay, so I did $1 million in revenue. I did, 200K or 300K in profit. So that's a 20 or 30% margin. Great. But who is saying to these sellers that 200K could have been 400K, for example, based on the same revenue? So finding bleeders is what we like to do because it's an instant increase in profitability on the same revenue. So that's one thing, right? The determination of your prices. And obviously, there's the battle for the buy box, and price is one of the most important factors to that. But the setting the bar for the absolute minimum sales price of products is, I think, one of the most important parts of selling successfully and being profitable. Obviously, there's also an upper limit, right? So within what range is a product still interesting for a consumer to buy and for a marketplace to list? And every other marketplace has a lot of boundaries that they may offer to determine, okay, we will list you at this price, but if you're going up, then we won't list you anymore. So then is the price too high, for example. So that's the playroom in which we operate and which we find the optimum price to generate a sale. And then there's also another thing, and that is, for example, how much of a product do you have in stock? Because if your volume is low, but your stock is high and you are sitting on a year's worth of stock, then maybe your lower boundary price and the component for margin that you have in that calculation should be a bit smaller, because the opportunity cost that you have because you're sitting on this huge pile of stock is super high. It would be better if there were products that have a high sales volume and are very profitable in that spot in your warehouse. So I think getting all these parameters, all these data points that change continuously in place, applying logic, and then push listings to the marketplace that you can profitably sell on. And this, this often has to do with commissions and logistical costs, for example. That is, I think, the most important part of what we do. Our focus is not, for example, on sponsored products or on that will help you optimize your titles. You can do that with our software. You can generate great content with software. You can use AI for translations. You can do it all. But the experience that we have and the consultants that we have for you are focused on the more mathematical part and logic part of the operation. And our trusted network, which consists of agencies and marketplace specialists, those people are focused on listings, sponsored products, retail media in general, and use our tool to supply all that information to the marketplace.
Yeah, so basically you create the product, the tool that is efficient in order to handle the operations of those marketplaces. We mentioned like some of those marketplaces, but they're like on the list that we mentioned, they're all super competitive. They all host like quite some products. So I guess your services allows like brands, sellers to have the edge over like the competitors, like for those given products because of the of the profitability part and so on. And so in a way, in that matter, is that you created a tool that is close to being able to consult more or less like those sellers, those brands about like the profitability, direct profitability of each single product that they have, and actually impacting like potentially both marketplace and actually their own e-com in the end.
Definitely, yeah. So what you're often seeing is that people are calculating a lot with averages, average shipping cost, average picking cost, average this and average that. But your catalog isn't average. There's 500 products, 1,000 products, and they are not priced the same. They are not all the same. So you can actually only work with averages if all of your products are the exact same product, because then the average is spot on. But in all other cases, your average is never spot on. And I think automation and logic and data helps you be spot on without being average or using averages. So that's, I think, super important. And you can do that with pricing. You can do that with cutoff times. You can do that with pretty much everything. It has to be spot on, and you can use logic for that.
Yeah, and that's why also you mentioned that it's very important to curate like the potential like product range, products that are offered per marketplace, because as much as one product can be profitable on one marketplace, it might not be profitable in another, depending on some of the conditions, some of the commission rates that the marketplace creating, and so on.
Yeah. So maybe Amazon Germany gets a much higher return rate, and the component in your cost to compensate for that return, is too high, which makes a product totally not worth it to sell on a marketplace. Could be the case.
Yeah, definitely. And so you mentioned also that you're working with agencies, and those agencies are basically, so if I understand correctly, complementing the product that you created, EffectConnect, and adding like some of the expertise, some of the more, I would say, tailored services for those sellers, adding, for example, so functions you mentioned, retail media, potentially product mapping, and maybe like account management in general.
Yeah. So it's pretty diverse. So obviously our customers can use our tool to do their content mapping and generate, content to for the marketplace and push it towards the marketplace. But in the end, the agency is more or less the company usually that helps the seller list their products with the best images possible and the best titles possible, and helps them set up the campaigns for specific products, for example. We are here to automate. So our expertise is in calculating, is in e-commerce integrations, is in automation, is in maximizing the potential that you have in terms of profitability based on math. And the agency is the one who's more on the marketing side. So if you were to draw a line of a business from back end, where your P&L is, to front end, where the marketplace and the commerce and the marketing is, then we are in the middle, looking a bit more towards P&L and looking at your cost components to calculate everything, exactly the way it should be to push to the marketplace. And the agency is more focused on that marketplace and driving traffic to your products on the marketplace that in the end should sell or generate sales.
Hey, stopping the podcast here for a moment, as I have just released a free course on how to launch and optimize a marketplace. It is designed for marketplace operators, but I'm sure that any marketplace professional, sellers, integrators, solutions, or consultants will receive lots of insights. If you're interested by getting best practices from more than 30 marketplaces, go on feedelitist.com/free course to get your copy. You can also find the link in the description. Without further ado, let's resume the podcast. Enjoy. So in a way, EffectConnect has been created. You can confirm if that's correct. Has been created more as a sort of a tech company more than like actually like retail one that is potentially matching the exact like brand structure and so on, and having like the pure account management piece without only focusing on the product. So really, what would you say is like EffectConnect, then you guys, your advantage, your competitive advantage over your competitors? What are your strengths? Because when we talk about the Netherlands, the area you listed, it's pretty dense in terms of competition in there, to be frank. But what would you say is either your edge or maybe your difference compared to the other solutions that are out there?
Yeah. So we are based in the south of the country, and there's one big advantage to being in the south of the country, and that is that people tend to be more loyal to us as an employer. So a lot of our team has been working with us for years, and that means that if one of our customers is reaching out, for example, to the customer success team that we have, they get to talk to someone who actually knows something and who has track record and experience. So it's not a junior function. It's a function that is super critical for someone to be in touch with us to get the best customer experience that they might be able to get in the world and get answers to their questions. And I think being this local focused player that we are, so we're focused on these companies in the Netherlands and Belgium and a bit in the surrounding countries, but not global, is super powerful. We can drive towards our customers, and we do. And we can drive towards our partners, and we do. So the local presence, the local focus, and the customer intimacy is really what stands out, in my opinion, and also, thank God, in our customers' opinion. So we did a customer satisfaction, what's it called again? Customer satisfaction inquiry the other day.
Yeah.
And this was the most important feedback. The tool is great, but the service component is even more important, and we love it. And that is what I am focused on. I want to have a culture within this company that is super great. We want to have fun. And if someone calls, we want to be a friendly person, on the other end of the phone that is helping you based on knowledge and not based on that they want to sell something. It is about knowledge. So that's in terms of people, I think that's pretty awesome. Another one, I think we are super great at data manipulation, and now it feels like a bit me talking about how great we are, right? So maybe you should ask our customers, but I think data manipulation and working with data and applying logic and finding the right data points to use wherever it is in your e-com chain, that's something that we're pretty strong in. So I really like that part of the business too.
Yeah, I mean, one of the element that we haven't listed with any other integrator, I think so far, was the team. The team, as per how long do they stay in the company? Because I believe it's super important as well. Like I have worked for a brand, and I can tell that definitely creating like those tight bounds with the people that are responsible for your account, whether it is like an account manager or customer success managers, it's very important. You need to have this.
One fun thing, Paul, is we have people who've been with us from before we had EffectConnect and still are with us. And we even have a business consultant working for us who's worked with EffectConnect at a client of ours for 7 years before joining our company. So this guy is obviously coming from the field. He's been selling on marketplace, he's been using our product, and now he is helping our customers get the most out of our product. And that's just a story about experience. It's not a salesperson, it's a person who has track record, who people can relate to because he did it, and he's now working with us to tell other people how they should do it.
Yeah, and he believes in the solution, so that makes the difference. 100%. And having somebody also that what you mentioned, like it's something great, like somebody that actually worked for a brand, or that was like himself, like selling items on marketplaces, is actually something even more convincing in a way that we're like, as an integrator, you guys are talking most of the time to brands, to sellers, about how to manage their inventory, how to optimize their operations. But it's true that having that sort of knowledge from a seller standpoint is so convincing in a way, because you're giving advice that are actually proven to be true and that have been tried.
Yep. And I think it also helps to just have clear opinions on some things, right? And not what they call beat around the bush. You should just say it like this to your customers. To if this guy is doing an audit, Tom, who's been with us for so many years working for a client of ours, if this guy is doing an audit, he will just tell the customer, okay, so I did an audit. You're losing money. Just as a bombshell. And you shouldn't sugarcoat it. It's just like it is. And I think I'm pretty outspoken about certain things too, such as, for example, charging a revenue share for your automation services. There's a lot of companies in Europe doing that, and you've interviewed some of them. I don't think it's fair. If someone is selling a product of 1,000 euros or 50 euros or 100 euros, we are doing exactly the same. Why should we charge more or less? So being outspoken helps. And sometimes some sellers think, wow, this guy is so outspoken. I kind of, this is too Dutch for me. I'm not going to relate to that. I'm out. But most of our customers really appreciate that fact about us.
Yeah, it's like what I like to call like the Dutch honesty. That like within 10 seconds, whether it's good or not. I think it's my opinion as a French person, so maybe differs depending on the nationality of people. But in business, something that I feel is very important in that matter, because you don't have time to waste. You don't have time to waste. You have like inventory to manage. You have like orders to manage, and so on. It's all like it has to be straightforward. It has to be efficient, and I believe like you guys are there for that, to give like as much as possible like this transparent feedback for your own sellers.
Yeah, we are focused on profitability and results, so we don't have time to waste.
Speaking about that, just being time conscious, do you have like a hard stop right after, or can we keep going? Okay, we're gonna keep going for a few minutes then. So we've been talking about EffectConnect, about like the different strength, competitive advantage. How do you see the future? Because like you've created the company, you have like also like put it in different like sort of services, and now like on as a marketplace integrator. How do you see the future with EffectConnect? Like in terms of, it can be like whatever you want to present in terms of features, in terms of just objectives, saying like, hey, we want to expand, or whatever it could be. Like, how do you see yourself like serving your customers in the future?
Well, the fun thing is that our customers are actually leading us into the future and telling us what they think they need in the future. And some of them even now already are using a product in ways that we didn't even think of, or we didn't mean to, have a product to be used like that. And it's actually quite surprising, but we really like it, because somehow they found our platform to be powerful and, bringing value to them for their marketplace operations. But then we suddenly see them using our platform for their, super sophisticated pricing engine for their web shops too. But we didn't even mean for that, but they do. So that got us thinking in the end, obviously, that we built something that is far bigger than just the marketplace component that we are focusing on. And I think that is something that we're definitely in 2024 and later on, we'll be focusing on to see how a seller or brand or agency can use our platform in a bit of a broader perspective to optimize e-com, whatever that may be. And a starting point for that was the App Store that we launched. So an integrator is obviously in the middle of stuff. And we are also most of the time the point of touch that you reach out to if there's something going on in your e-com chain. And we thought, okay, so people are using our product, people are using other people's product for labeling, for stock optimization, for content services, whatever. We thought we should promote these services context dependent. So if someone is in the need for tax solutions or stock optimization or whatever, they should be able to find it with us and connect to these platforms. So the connectivity to other types of software will definitely increase. We will still be developing new marketplace integrations, but we're not focused on getting as much integrations around the world as we can, because we believe the value is not in the amount of integrations. It is in the profitability of a specific number of integrations that a seller might need to sell in Europe. And that's also geographically where we stop. So Europe, and not Asia, not the US, whatever, Europe.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And also, I mean, I agree with your standpoint, and I think that has been like more or less like the main topic of our conversation of today, is saying that you don't need to be everywhere as a seller, but as well as a marketplace integrator. But as a seller, right, it's just about finding the right channel for your product.
No, there were years, and definitely when we first started at La Redoute, for example, in those years, then marketplaces were pretty easy money. So you could just list your products and there wasn't a lot of competition and it will generate revenue. But it isn't like that anymore. So if you want to sell on 20 marketplaces, 30, 40, whatever, you need a lot of people to manage it all, to make sure that it all works well, that it is profitable, and that logistics are covered. And mostly we see sellers, they do not have the people to manage that specific amount. They often promote someone from a marketing team to a marketplace team, which is pretty funny because marketplace is more a sales operation than it is a marketing operation, in my opinion.
Yep.
So they're promoting maybe the wrong person, but that's just my 2 cents.
There's marketing the name.
Yeah, and they just say, can you do this extra marketplace too, and this one and this one? So there's three extra shops that they need to manage. It just doesn't work. And these brands also, they have a logistical issue. Brands are focused on, bulk exports, bulk logistic to retail customers, and then suddenly they have to do single piece shipments and customer service. Yeah, it's that is super challenging.
Yeah, and that's purely why also like you need to have like a marketplace integrator if you want to expand your operations, because it's easy to manage your operations on Amazon and trying to have everything in CSV and one by one, like when you have one channel, one marketplace. But then when you start scaling, you see that you're gonna have plenty of errors, like human errors. So having like a marketplace integrator that is able to connect and to orient you when you don't have the expertise. You guys are the expertise,
exactly.
have the expertise. So this is where like they should rely on. Maybe if we move on then to the next part, and as a sort of wrap up, because we mentioned a lot of positive points about EffectConnect, but if we wrap it up, maybe in a format of 1 or 2 minutes, where you can present what it is to work with EffectConnect and why should either sellers, brands, or even partners like work with you guys.
Yeah. So if you're a reseller or brand and want to sell on marketplaces globally and gain as much people to see your products all across the world, then you shouldn't use EffectConnect. So our focus is helping you sell in Europe and be profitable. And the profitability is the number one focus. It isn't about the number of marketplaces. It is about profitability on the marketplace. And if you're a brand who's not selling on the marketplace but wants to have insights, we can help you too. And if you're an agency, who's doing sponsored products with brands on marketplaces, we'll help you figure out the best P&L strategy to make these sponsored products profitable. So don't go global and use EffectConnect. Go in Europe and be profitable and use EffectConnect.
All right. I think things are pretty clear and definitely also like a different vision from what we've seen so far. A vision that totally makes sense. I think that maybe it's your transparency also like on this fact, and like the sort of the standpoint that you have on seller preservation and brand preservation, which is great, because like it's overall like about driving this long-term approach for sellers and not telling them like they need to be everywhere at the same time.
So what I saw some videos of yours and I saw a lot of people talking about global marketplace and global teams and global offices. And I think that works for the big brands, right? So these brands that can operate globally. But if you're a national, you're not going global. You're not doing that. If you're a small and medium business, you're not going global usually. And there's far bigger amounts of nationals and SMBs than there are super big brands. So we like that group, and that's where we're focused on.
All right, no, that's definitely understandable. And so to continue on that, how could sellers or brands or even like partners that want to join like your ecosystem, because you mentioned like you wanted to expand it, how can they contact you, move forward with you guys? Like, do you have like a main point of contact that we can reach out to?
Yeah, I think the easiest is through the website, through EffectConnect.com. Our team is then getting in touch with you, the right persons. But, if you have an e-com question or a marketplace question, or just want to talk to me to have a bit of a discussion, you can just send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active over there, mostly in Dutch, by the way. So if you're trying to understand Dutch, then maybe you should set up some translation in LinkedIn. But through the website or through my LinkedIn.
I see now like LinkedIn as anyway like the feature that you can like automatically translate. So we will be able to understand you. No worries on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And also you mentioned EffectConnect. So we can go on the website. And do you guys have like events upcoming, or like do you have like webinars and things, similar things ongoing?
Yeah, we'll be doing a webinar I think in January, and also the Webwinkel Vakdagen will be. I'm not sure about the exact date, but they are in Utrecht in the beginning of the year too. So we'll be there, and definitely visit us. And also check out the YouTube channel. You can find a lot of valuable content there. We're doing webinars too, and we'll be adding some cool videos next year too. So a lot of content to see and places to visit, I guess.
All right, sounds good. So 3 call to action: visit EffectConnect website, contact or reach out, follow Bart on
just send me an invite on LinkedIn
if you have questions, and check out like their YouTube channel. So I will list like the 3 options down in the description. Do you have maybe a last word maybe for our audience for today?
Yeah, be profitable. Make sure profit is there on marketplaces. You're not sustainable if you're not having profit. So
yeah, sounds good. Profit is king, and it needs to be measured. Thanks a lot, Bart, for your availability today. It was really nice to have you and have like this expertise that you have, very segmenting in a way, and very, very nice for sellers and brands to hear that.
Perfect.
All right. So I will just close it off for now. Thanks everybody for watching this podcast with Bart. You will find all the information in the description. Next week, we'll interview another marketplace integrator. So feel free to like the video and to subscribe to the channel or to follow the LinkedIn page depending on where you see this video. I'll see you next week.